Before proceeding with the video, I would like to once again remind you that the type of topics that I do on this channel is because I want to challenge your mind. What I'm trying to accomplish here is that I want to create a community of free thinkers, people who take care of themselves, because ultimately no one cares about you more than yourself. And me giving recipes on how you should proceed with your life and what you should do and how you should act in certain different situations won't solve anything because you are following my lead. It's by empowering yourself you become a self-sufficient unit. And I'm guessing that you watching this channel are here because you think that the topics I cover are thought-provoking. Self-reliance is the only way for fulfilling life. And you won't hear opinions, generalizations that apply to big masses here. With that being said, I will be covering a video from the School of Life. A great channel. They made a lot of thought-provoking videos, and I think that Alain de Botton is a very good philosopher. He tries to convey all the teachings, all the wisdom in a modern way, although I haven't been paying attention to the latest videos. This video is about democracy, obviously from the title, is about Socrates and his viewpoints on how it should be conducted. Let's go!
We're used to thinking very highly of democracy, and by extension of ancient Athens, the civilization that gave rise to it. The Parthenon has become almost a byword for democratic values, which is why so many leaders of democracies like to be photographed there. It's therefore very striking to discover that one of ancient Greece's greatest achievements, philosophy, was highly suspicious of its other achievement, democracy. The founding father of Greek philosophy, Socrates, is portrayed in the dialogues of Plato as hugely pessimistic about the whole business of democracy. In Book 6 of the Republic, Plato describes Socrates falling into conversation with a character called Adimantus and trying to get him to see the flaws of democracy by comparing a society to a ship. If you were heading out on a journey by sea, asks Socrates, who would you ideally want deciding who was in charge of the vessel? Just anyone, or people educated in the rules and demands of seafaring? The latter, of course, says Adimantus. So why then, responds Socrates, do we keep thinking that any old person should be fit to judge who should be the ruler of a country?
This is a typical thing that I have been encountering all my life, all my not so long life. It always presumed that because a person is older than me, that he or she knows much better about life, which is not true. Yes, living longer life makes you wiser, hopefully, but it also dramatically depends on the life choices that you have made and the path that you have walked to come to the point that you are at. And here Socrates points out that just because a person is elderly doesn't mean that they are capable to lead a nation.
Socrates' point is that voting in an election is a skill, not a random intuition. And like any skill, not a random intuition, as leadership is. Dealing with people is a skill. You have to practice again and again and again. Challenge yourself. You have to challenge other people and then deal with the consequences of your actions with them. Maybe fail miserably here and there, but you learn from your experiences. It needs to be taught systematically to people. Letting the citizenry vote without an education is as irresponsible as putting them in charge of a trireme sailing to Samos in a storm. Socrates was to have first-hand catastrophic experience of the foolishness of voters.
Later on in this video, I will be relating the wisdom from Socrates to the current situation in the world. Don't make a mistake thinking that you live in a sovereign country. We have a globalization. Something happening in one place spreads like a wildfire to other places, regardless if it's dating, politics, economy.
In 399 BC, the philosopher was put on trial on trumped-up charges of corrupting the youth of Athens. A jury of 500 Athenians was invited to weigh up the case and decided by a narrow margin that the philosopher was guilty. He was put to death by hemlock in a process which is, for thinking people, every bit as tragic as Jesus' condemnation has been for Christians.
Every bit tragic as the Jesus condemnation.
Crucially, Socrates was not elitist in the normal sense. He didn't believe that a narrow few should only ever vote. He did, however, insist that only those who had thought about issues rationally and deeply should be let near a vote.
That is the problem that we face with democracies of the world today. People are giving the right to vote just because they exist. There's no damn accomplishment in just existing. You have to show any kind of competence in the matter that displays that you are not a moron.
We have forgotten this distinction between an intellectual democracy and a democracy by birthright.
I like the imagery here. On the left side you have intellectuals, on the right side you have a mob thinking, exactly what is happening today. And if you have a phone, if you have a large following, you become a politician, because what you do becomes cultural. What you say, what you convey becomes cultural. And today's day and age, politics stem from culture, not the other way around, which is exactly how it should work. Culture stemming from politics.
We have given the vote to all without connecting it to wisdom. And Socrates knew exactly where that would lead, to a system the Greeks feared above all: demagoguery.
Demagoguery is exactly the prevalent atmosphere of the Western world today, and it's spreading to the rest of the world. You are telling people what they want to hear, not what they need to hear, because you want to gain power, you want followers, no matter the cost.
Ancient Athens had painful experience of demagogues. For example, the louche figure of Alcibiades, a rich, charismatic, smooth-talking, wealthy man who eroded basic freedoms and helped to push Athens to its disastrous military adventures in Sicily. Socrates knew how easily people seeking election could exploit our desire for easy answers.
That is exactly what I said before. People seek easy answers. Even now, when I do videos on self-improvement, personal development, kind of a mix, my point is to regain power of your life. When you do that kind of videos, you quickly notice that people are not interested in long-term solutions. They want short-term affirmation. They want the feels. They want to feel good about themselves before going to bed. But that, my friend, doesn't solve your problem. Long-term thinking, compounded effort, taking action each and every day is what creates a stable, solid life.
He asked us to imagine an election debate between two candidates, one who was like a doctor and the other who was like a sweet shop owner. The sweet shop owner would say of his rival, "Look, this person here has worked many evils on you. He hurts you, gives you bitter potions, and tells you not to eat and drink whatever you like."
Today's era's debate. This is so analogous with the debates that we have in the Western world. Politicians are just bickering and pandering and emotionally attacking each other like small children.
He'll never serve you feasts of many and varied pleasant things like I will. Socrates asks us to consider the audience's response. Do you think the doctor would be able to reply effectively? The true answer, "I cause you trouble and go against your desires in order to help you," would cause an uproar among the voters, don't you think? We have forgotten all about Socrates' salient warnings against democracy.
On point.
We have preferred to think of democracy as an unambiguous good, rather than as something that is only ever as effective as the education system that surrounds it.
And this is exactly why Western world have come much further when it comes to democracy, or whatever that we have this day and age, compared to third world countries. In order to implement democracy, the average IQ of people has to be high enough for them to comprehend, to transform the culture, to understand the common needs, and in what direction a society should move. You think 1.6 billion Chinese would prefer democracy? That might be something they want, but is it something that they need?
As a result, we have elected many sweet shop owners and very few doctors.
A lot of sweet shop owners, very few doctors. The picture that Socrates described for us is prevalent today. In this day and age, everyone jumps on bandwagon just because something sounds interesting and exciting. There's no investigation needed. There's no critical thinking. There's no mental challenge. Today, it's feels before reals. And this frame of mind is corrupting all of the Western world. Politics is about theater, and the best actor will always win. I watched a video from Nas Daily, and he said that we need need a new Trump. Not because he's a Trump supporter, but because he thinks that Trump found the ultimate weapon, pandering to people in a way that will give him advantage. And I am not saying he's a bad president, and I am not saying he's a good president. I'm just telling you how I see things. Both sides of political spectrum have jumped into a business of acting. And if you want to know truth, it's not the mainstream media that you should follow. Most of the answers to life lies within you and in places that very few look for. A great society is built through fostering self-sufficient and self-reliant people who take responsibility for their actions. They take full ownership of their lives. And that being said, I totally agree with Socrates. People who vote should have common knowledge about politics and what it means to give your vote to a certain politician. As it looks today, it's like closing your eyes and pointing at a candidate and deciding who will drive your country for the upcoming years. And that always comes from an emotional point, not rational, which is exactly the point where the system becomes corrupted. Societies develop through emotionalism, not rationalism, and that only bodes for catastrophes and chaos. At this point, 2020, there's no excuse for you to wait on some kind of a politician to fix your life. At this point in time, it's up to you how your life will look like in 10, 20, 30 years from now. The only way to reach a fulfilling life is self-reliance. And when you assume that attitude, when you assume that mindset, the politics of the country won't matter for you. And I am willing to debate that politics is for poor people. And I mean poor-minded, not financially. Maybe something to think about. Hussein, out.